And we are live.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Hung. Hi, Chee.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Caroline with Catalyst Foundation, and I am so excited to do this. It's really for total selfish reasons. I'm a huge Amazing Race fan, and Hung and Chee volunteered for us 15 years ago. They looked exactly the same 15 years ago. They're actually wearing the t-shirts at the culture camp that they volunteered at. We are a nonprofit organization that started 21 years ago. And we have had 20 years of culture camps. Culture camp is a camp for families of adopted children from Vietnam. At the time, we've had 2 locations. We had one in the Midwest and one on the East Coast. Hung and Chee were in the Midwest. I think you guys were you interns at a company at General Mills at the time, or were you working?
We were grown-ups at the time.
We had full-time jobs.
You were grown-ups. See, they were grown-ups that wanted to play with children. We have about 100 to 200 families that join us every year at Culture Camp. And Hung and Chee have just been around and been really loyal supporters of Catalyst for the last 15 years. So they're generous enough to offer this instant fame that they've had for the last few weeks as Amazing Race contestants to talk about themselves a little bit more, give us an insight, and all that good stuff. So if you're watching us on YouTube, which I hope you are, on the right, you're going to see a little session or a little section where you can add questions. We've got a moderator, Miss Lily down there is our intern, and she is moderating questions for us. So ask anything you want. Hung and Chee supposedly will not tell us who the winner is, but we know after tonight's episode that at the top 3. So if you're West Coast, sorry, spoiler alert. But yeah, we can ask any questions you want. So Hung and Chee, why don't you just introduce yourselves a little bit more than what you told us on Amazing Race?
First off, I wanted to thank you, Karen and Lily, for having us. This is a huge honor. You know, Catalyst Foundation does amazing, amazing work. So we're excited to be a part of it and do anything that we can for it ever. And also thank you for everybody at home watching us. We really appreciate your support. We've really gotten a really very kind and positive outpouring of encouragement, both in terms of us generally as racers and also in terms of representation for Asians in a positive way. So thank you so much for all of that. And I can start with introductions.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
So I'm Hung Nguyen. A lot of people actually get us confused on social media and they call me Chee and they call him Hung, but I'm sorry. But yes, but I'm actually Hung, and this is Chee, and we've been together for 16 years.
Yeah, it's gone by real quick. We met in Minnesota. We were both working at General Mills at the time, and Hung was the one that introduced me to the Catalyst Foundation. We did the culture camp, had a blast. Fast forward 15 years, we've got 3 young daughters, live in Houston, Texas, and it's always been a dream of ours to be on the race. And one day after our first child was born, we were like, you know what? Let's just submit a video and see what happens. There's never going to be an ideal time to do something like this. And so we did it. Hung wrote the script, we put a video together and we submitted it into the big black hole. And we actually didn't hear back. And we had to apply several times, maybe 4 or 5 times before we finally got the call back. And luckily here we are.
Wow. So when was the first time that you applied?
The first time was 2015.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So right before culture camp. Wow. And you applied how many times before you finally got called back?
Like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. Was it the same video or did you update it?
Yes.
So funny that you say that because yes, we were lazy and we thought the video was so funny that we kept doing it.
We also made excuses about, in addition to being lazy, the seasons that we got passed up on, they had unique themes associated with them. So like they had a social media theme, they had a singles only theme, and so we're like, okay, let's just send the same video back in and maybe this time it'll work.
Right. Cool. All right. So Lily, do you want to start with some questions that came online over the last week or so?
Yes, so we collected some questions from people over Google Forms, so we have some prepared. While we're on the topic of sort of introductions, Yuling Tan from Singapore would like to know, how did you get to know each other, and what were your first impressions of each other, like as a couple, as each other's people?
Yeah.
Not as racers. Not as racers.
Not as racers. Oh, wow. So, as I said earlier, we were both working at General Mills at the time in Minnesota, and we both happened to volunteer for this I guess Asian Diversity Network.
Yeah.
And we thought, well, if we're going to be working together, we might as well meet up and get to know each other. So we set up time to meet at the coffee shop, and I was expecting a guy to show up, because Hung is a very traditionally male name in Vietnamese. And so she walks by, I don't say anything, but she doesn't see me either. And so I'm just sitting here.
I actually did see him. So I walked by and I was thinking in my head, oh, that's a good looking dude, right? But I'm looking for an ugly dude, because I looked in the company directory before I went to see him, because a normal person would want to do that.
I didn't do that.
And
there's for Facebook, right?
Yes.
It's like company Facebook.
Yeah.
I got it.
And there's this terrible picture of him on there. So I'm looking for this terrible looking person. And so I just walked right by him and I sat down and I waited. And he was over there just waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And then for folks who haven't been to Minnesota, there's not a lot of Asians in Minnesota. So I was like, what are the chances that there's 2 Asians waiting here at a coffee shop? And so I go over there and I was like, hi. Did I say?
You said, hi, I'm Hung.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you're Hung. And that's just kind of how it all started.
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool. Great question. Okay, so I want to know how and when we can see the submission video, the final one that got you in.
Oh, man.
Do we
I
get
don't know if we even
to
have
put it
that.
on the Catalyst YouTube channel?
I don't think you want to see it.
I don't know if that's ready for public consumption.
Maybe we should make that a fundraiser. I bet a few people would bid for that.
That's an idea.
That's an idea. Yeah.
Okay, so the Amazing Race is 11 teams. Now, for this season, this is a question, and I am also curious. How did you only travel with one backpack? This, I think, the first time I've ever seen one backpack.
That was all Hung's idea. Very brilliant idea.
So I already know that I'm going to be like these smaller, less athletic. So I needed to level the ground as much as possible. So we decided that we were going to do one pack, but it's unfair for Chee to carry a giant pack. And I did a lot of research and I realized that most people have packs between 30 and 40 pounds a piece. And I was like, no, we're going to do half that, 17 pounds. That was my goal. And so we made a list of things, must-haves, no luxuries, must-haves. That was all about function. There's no style. We're disgusting. We're stinky. Like,
we don't need air mattresses. We don't need pillows. Like, we don't need any creature comforts
at all. No makeup, no accessories.
That's right.
On the cold legs, we're wearing every piece of clothing that we brought. And our pack actually weighed in at 15 pounds. The backpack's 2 pounds. The one piece of luxury that we did bring was we were concerned about what we were going to eat. And so we bought a 5.5 pound thing of protein powder. And so as the leg went on, we consumed it all. And by the end, roughly now in the Philippines, the pack is about 6 to 8 pounds.
Yeah.
Because we also shed other things that we knew we didn't need, like an alarm clock, sunglasses. So we can actually go through the list of everything we brought because there are so few of it. But there's no margin for error. Like if you lost something or you just don't have it.
Yep. Yeah.
How much prep time did you guys, like how much lead time did they say you're going to be on and then you're going to start racing?
4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they told us in October and the race started in November. So about 1 month to like prepare and get everything ready.
Wow.
But truthfully, with what we know now, we could have packed a much smaller bag.
Yeah, we can go even smaller next time. If we were to, go do it again, we can do even smaller.
Wow. And did you do laundry?
Yes, kind of. Like not like first world country laundry. We did it in the sink.
Hotel sinks, hotel bathtubs.
And so you remember the France episode with the chantilly cream?
Yes.
So in case people don't know, Chantilly cream rots and it smells terrible. Like it smells like baby vomit. So for people who have the luxury of not handling baby vomit, you're
Like
in for
durian?
what?
Like durian?
Worse. No, I like durian. Durian is good.
So you may recall on that leg, they were throwing pies at people's faces. Yep. I had a direct hit directly into my ear, and I thought I got all of the cream out. Turns out I didn't. And so later that night in the hotel, when we were trying to go to sleep, I was like, what is that smell? You know, she's smelling around.
Oh, it's your head. You're gonna go fix that.
So I thought, oh, maybe I didn't wash my hair properly. And so it turns out she got next to my ear and she's just like, oh. We realized there was still cream that was still, rotting in my ear. And so I just had to just get in there and get it all out. It's
like sand at the beach. Like it gets every single crevice. And it's in like the fibers of our clothes. So we were still smelling it for the rest of the month.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was one of the questions. How long were you actually on the race? Like the length of the episode for us?
Yeah. The whole season, every single team, regardless of when you get eliminated, every single team is gone for 5 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So we were off the grid because they take our cell phones away. We don't have access to computers or anything like that. But we were off the grid from like the beginning of November all the way through the first week of December.
We spent about a week in LA doing a lot of the interviews and promos that they show on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And then in terms of the actual race, when we leave the Hollywood Bowl at the starting line, that's about 21 days total of filming.
Wow. And could you tell anyone that you were on the race?
Nope.
Well, so legally we can't tell anyone except for blood relatives. For some reason, all of your nuclear family has to sign off saying that it's okay for you to go. So for me, that was my mom, my dad, my brothers.
Yeah. And for me,
could they tell people that you were on the race?
What's
that?
Could they tell people that you were on the race?
No. Yeah, they want everything to be top secret, no spoilers, and all that good stuff. We signed like mountains of paperwork and legal documents just to ensure that everything was, top secret.
Okay.
So we sat on a secret for 2 years.
Oh, wow. Were you able to talk, Tracy from, I know, West Coast, wanted to know if you talked or video chatted with your girls at all?
No, unfortunately, we couldn't.
Wow.
But before we left, what we did was we had little care packages for them that we gave to different people. And so every week they would have a little care package, a little letter that we pre-wrote for them, a little video that we pre-recorded for them. So, and they were really young at that time. So it was as if we were sending things live.
Right. Yeah. Okay, more about your time off. Was it challenging to get your job to agree? And did your employers know that you were on the race?
So we had stocked up on vacation because we were really hoping that we could go. So we didn't take any vacation that year. We both had 5 weeks of vacation. So we took legitimate, paid time off to go.
Yeah.
Oh. So you didn't have to tell them.
Oh, so that's a funny story, actually. So it would be odd to just disappear for 5 weeks. So what I said was that Chee planned a special, honeymoon because we didn't go on a honeymoon. And it was our roughly 10-ish year anniversary. Mm-hmm. And I said, it was a surprise. I don't know what it is because I'm a terrible liar and I didn't want questions. And then when we came back, I said that we went to this, meditative retreat. And because it was kind of so weird, people didn't ask questions. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You be you. And so that's how we got around it.
Yep.
Tricky. Okay.
Now that your friends and family can know that you're on the race and they're obviously watching it, Jessica Ross wants to know, what does your family think about your fame now?
My parents are tickled to death. They've told all of their friends, and obviously all of our relatives are all watching religiously now. So that's been a lot of fun, and they love like hearing all the behind the scenes stuff that they don't get to see, or people don't get to see that's on the show.
Yeah.
And then our daughters are also eating it up too. They don't know how we did, and so they're glued to the TV to see how we're doing, making sure we're still surviving each leg.
Do they have some favorite moments? Do they have some favorite moments yet?
So
Who you want to know?
I think they have lots of favorite moments, but there's one moment that they absolutely hate. We were surprised about this. It's the part where I was doing the dentures and saying that doesn't gross me out because kids are disgusting. When they heard that, they're like, "What? We're not disgusting. Why did you say that?"
How old are they now?
10, 7, and 5.
Okay. That's a pretty disgusting age in general. In general. Cool. So I think there's an episode, Lily, do you have a clip of that we're going to show, and we want to hear some more behind the scenes about it?
Sure.
Lily gets that ready. So we have people commenting from all over. Everyone's saying hi to you.
To you too.
So Manila was just today. How did it feel racing with such brand new rules, with no roadblocks, no detours? Were you prepared for that? Was that a surprise for you guys?
It was a surprise for us completely. We didn't know what to expect until they said it. But behind the scenes thing is that when they aired it tonight, they framed it as a city sprint. But when we actually did it, that's not how they framed it. They framed it as a riddle leg, the first ever riddle leg. And we thought it was going to be like lots of brain teasers, and we were like so excited because we were really good at memory tasks and brain teasers. But it came out that it was just the clues were written like Dr. Seussy. There really were no riddles. And I guess that didn't stick in terms of a theme. And so they did City Sprint. So really good audio.
Yeah, they did a good job of changing up the audio, and it made it look like that was how it was, themed from the very start. But
yeah.
But when they were talking to us, when Phil was talking to us, it was all about being this riddle leg.
Cool.
Ready for the clip?
We are.
To feed our children.
A lot of people might think, how do you do this? How do you live here?
We saw that in Cambodia. We saw that in Manaus. When people need to survive for themselves and for their family, they get creative, and they're ingenious about how they create shelter and food and water and all the basics to make sure that their family's okay. So one great example of ingenuity are my parents. They came to the United States with absolutely nothing, no family, no money, and no English. So they had to be very creative and trying to figure out solutions to raise a family of 4. And I'm always still surprised at what they did and what they still do, because in our lives, we have more material comfort. And so we buy things, but my parents are still used to making things, and they will take, instead of throwing out a plastic bottle, they'll reuse it in very creative ways. That it's just very inspirational how they do it in a more sustainable way, and to show us that we don't need to buy things all the time.
The fact that your kids are seeing you standing here dirty, grubby, having used your hands today to complete the challenges. These are good life lessons for them.
These are incredible life lessons for the kids. If you need to get something done, you shouldn't be shy to roll up your sleeves and get dirty. It's important for survival, and it can be fun too.
So I have a lot of questions, but the first question, of course, is part of why I love Amazing Race, and I think why there's been 32 seasons of it, is because you do get to run around the world and really seeing different cultures. Part of what Culture Camp was about was sharing, Vietnamese culture. How was it? Did you really get an opportunity, and were the roadblocks and detours really based around what was culturally specific in the country that you were in?
I think it depends on the challenge, but most of them, the producers aspire for it to be locally relevant. So it would be an opportunity to showcase a unique part of the culture, whether it's music, dance, food, lifestyle. So as a watcher, I loved that part of Amazing Race that you're talking about. As a racer, we don't get any of that context. We just are kind of dropped in, parachuted in, we do this thing. Nobody tells us why it's important at all. And really not until we watch it, when you guys watch it, do we realize like the cool stuff and the reason why we did that at all.
Yeah, and the fun facts and the historical significance of, you know, some of these tasks that we're doing. We don't really know about it until, you know, they air it.
Oh, and let's see. I don't remember who said it, but they asked, has Phil ever tried any of those roadblocks and detours that you guys do?
Yeah, I think he has. I mean, you'll see in some of these clips that where he introduces the task, like he'll demonstrate the task. Like today, you know, he ran around in high heels, or in France, you know, he threw the balls at the carnival games and stuff like that. So yeah, he gets involved too.
Yeah, cool, very cool. And was Cambodia the closest you got to Vietnam? Like, did you look at races did you actually know where you were going to go before? Okay.
No, we try to guess based on the vaccinations that they give us. They give us a lot. And also our passports, the visas that we get. Apparently in previous seasons, they would have decoy visas. But because I think for cost reasons, they didn't have any decoy visas in ours.
Yeah.
So we kind of had an idea, but there were lots of countries that didn't require visas. So, you know, so, but no, to answer your question, the short answer is we didn't know where we were going until we actually opened the clue.
Okay. And did you guys know any other foreign languages? Just in case you knew, you know.
I don't. I mean, English is my primary language. Growing up, I spoke, you know, a little bit of Cantonese, but I mean, once I started going to school and stuff, like I just slowly lost it.
So I speak a conversational Vietnamese, but there's a very small number of places where that would be useful.
Right.
Before the race, we learned like 6 phrases in the languages that are the most useful. So we learned it in French, Spanish, Arabic, Mandarin, German. And but when we figured out what country we were going to, we would always do a little bit of research in the airport. So we would, you know, just ask people to bum their cell phones or a laptop, and people were really generous. It might be because we had camera people with us all the time, and I guess people would want to maybe be on TV. So they let us use their stuff, and then we would always learn more words that were more specific.
Yeah, and I think it helped that we tried to speak their language. We would just learn basic phrases like please, thank you, phone, stuff like that. Help, race.
Faster.
Yeah. And so, you know, when we made that effort, I think it helped them kind of feel comfortable helping us.
Right. Okay, I feel like we have so many questions to ask. Lily, you want to jump in and make sure we didn't miss any good ones?
How about if you had to choose another partner to race, if you were to race again, but you can't choose each other, who would you pick?
So
would you choose one?
You know, we were asked this, a variation of this question, like if we had to choose another cast member within our season to race with, who would we choose? And so for me, I would probably choose Riley. He's the one of the volleyball brothers. He's the one with the darker haired beard. I feel like with him, he and I would have pretty good complementary skills. Like in France, he handled that art museum challenge pretty quickly. And what else did he do? And then in India, he handled that place setting task pretty well. So you know, I feel like he and I would make a good team.
Oh, you want me to go? Okay, so if I were to answer the same question about who would I choose on the cast, coincidentally, I'd also choose Riley. Riley and I have very similar temperaments, and I think complementary skills, because I need somebody to, you know, be bigger, stronger, faster. Yeah, so Riley and I would have like a nice mind meld.
Okay, so did you get any sleep in those 5 weeks? Cato 2 wants to know.
Man, we squeezed in as much sleep as we could whenever we could. But for me, I mean, just with the jet lag and constant like adrenaline for 8 hours and then just crash after that, I had a hard time like ever feeling rested and energized during the race.
So a piece of it is the downtime that you have and where you had it. So we slept a lot on the floor in airports. So we are now experts at going into an airport and finding the cleanest, safest, driest is important, place to sleep in the airport. But it's not just that, it's also like the race is also a social game. So if you're not cooped up in your hotel room and you're out, even though you're not actively racing, you're always like looking at the other racers, see who's talking to who, make sure that you're, I'm sorry?
Alliances.
Yes.
The alliances, exactly.
Because, you know, you just need to know what's going on, right? Because even if we weren't in alliances, we still don't want to be on the outs. And it's important. Like in life, right? You need to know that, you know, you're not being targeted. You're not, you know.
Were you you're the only parents on this leg, right? I mean, on this season?
D'Angelo is a parent of now 4.
And Jerry is obviously
a parent.
Frank's father.
Oh, right, right.
And that's it.
Yes.
So you were team mom and dad for at least the beginning of the race. Mom and dad knew everything.
That's right.
So the other teams wanted to know what to call us. And, you know, I was like, just call us mom and dad. But they felt a little uncomfortable because we don't look like their parents.
That's right. Make them feel comfortable. Keep your enemies close. Okay, so you just kind of briefly told us about accommodations. If you chose to go to a hotel, would you have to pay for it?
No, everything is covered. So when we got to LA, they took away all of our money, our driver's license, credit cards. We don't have any of that, and we're not allowed to use any of that on the race. So it's not like we can pick up a phone, just remember our credit card number and buy stuff. What we have is the cash that they give us at the beginning of every leg, and all airfare and hotel is completely covered by them.
Okay. Okay, sorry for everyone that's been on early. We're trying to go backwards a little bit. And then let's see. Did you have any days off during the race? Joseph wants to know.
Days off? Oh, yeah. So in between legs, they have, these pit stops that they call them. And the length of the pit stops can range from 12 hours to like 30 hours.
Oh.
And so it just all depends on kind of the logistics of the flights and whatnot. And so during that time, we're just frantically either trying to wash our clothes so that they're not nasty, or get some rest, or just try to get some food so that we can re-energize.
A fun fact is that Chee got really sick in Paraguay, and he actually had to go to the hospital. Luckily, it was coincidentally a long pit stop. So we went to the hospital and we came back and then we restarted the race, because if there wasn't a long pit stop, if it was a 12-hour, then we would potentially have just been out because he would have to go to the hospital. The racers would continue. So that was lucky. Yeah,
that Paraguay leg was a tough one. It was the one that with the watermelon stacking challenge, you may recall, and the weather there was like in the mid 90s with 100% humidity, and it was tough to tell on the show, but that task took us like 2-3 hours, and I ended up getting heat exhaustion or heat stroke from it, and it took a lot out of me, and that's why I had to go to the hospital.
Would you say that?
And she was perfectly fine. She's a freaking trooper.
Do they provide water for you? I mean, is there a medical someone off on the side waiting for you to have a heat stroke? And
that's a good question. The answer is yes. So they have a medical team that follows the entire race all around the world. They also are our security team too, and so they've got water, they've got Gatorade. In case we need it, it's there for us, because they just want to make sure that the racers' health is okay.
Okay.
And I didn't realize this until we raced, but there is a village of people in each of the places that help host, set up the events, and also take care of us. So in Paraguay, when he was really, really sick, there's our medical team, which are first responders, but then they contact a doctor who came with an IV, who gave him an IV in the hotel room when that didn't help. And they contacted a hospital where they felt it was safe enough, and they were trying to go film at the hospital, but they didn't get permission to do so. So there's a whole army of folks helping logistics and making sure that we're safe and well.
Another one of us. So another fun fact: one of our Catalyst counselors and presenters was on the Vietnam producing team, local team, when Amazing Race ran in Vietnam.
Oh, that's so
That's
cool.
Rose, and Rose is now in LA.
Right on.
Okay, so John wants to know, can you show us the turtle live?
John Russ, we'll show you that later. We'll check the video and we'll text that to you, John. Thanks for the heckling.
We always love a good heckler. Okay, so Lauren wants to know what was the most challenging leg of the race. Now that we know that you're in the hospital in Paraguay, I think that would rank there, right?
Paraguay was up there, but Brazil was actually even tougher in my opinion.
Okay.
The heat in Manaus and the humidity to me makes Houston look like child's play. It was I would say about 100 degrees there. The humidity was just off the charts. It was so bad that at the hotel, the humidity was so bad, like the walls were like sweating and like our sheets were always damp feeling. And that's how humid it was. And running around the market and, building the huts for some of the teams, we did the cooking challenge. Like that took so much out of me. I was exhausted.
So a little bit of context. I don't sweat. I'm not really sure why. So I didn't get as dehydrated. But Chee, as soon as it gets hot and humid, like he's like pouring sweat. So you can take his shirt and like wring it out and you can get water. That's how much he sweats. So anytime we are in these super, super hot, humid climates, it's like danger for him.
Wow. It seems like you were hot a lot. There was a lot of hot truck.
A lot of hot weather climate. And, racing in November, you wouldn't think that, but it's summertime in the Southern Hemisphere.
Good point. Jack wants to know how much scripting goes on with the show, or is that all in the editing?
So it's all unscripted, but I would say that the producers ask leading pointed questions, and they want to coach you to say certain things to build a story, or if they want to say, if they want to get something. For instance, like at a roadblock, if she's doing it, they'll come to me and they'll say, how do you think he's doing? Do you wish that you had done it instead? Would you have done it faster? And some people will say, yes, I wish I had done it, and then that's what they show.
That's what they end up showing.
Just, to cause drama and stuff. But other than that, I don't think that there's a lot of scripting, but there's a lot of editing.
When Phil does his thing, when he introduces tasks and stuff, all that is obviously scripted. And then on the very opening leg too, when we're all kind of jogging into the Hollywood Bowl and on all that stuff, all of that is scripted. They tell us what to do, where to stand, and things like that. But outside of that, Hung is right. Like everything else is unscripted.
But the editing is really, really
clever.
So everything that is said that you hear on TV came out of our mouths, but they might not have come out at that time or in that context. And sometimes if you watch closely, they'll take sound bites and they'll just repeat them or use them in different
episodes, different legs, different,
or out of order
situations.
To tell a story. So that's also been a surprise, the clever editing.
So does that mean, Lorraine asked, does the edit make the team seem like they're closer together? When you're is the end, are you guys actually racing to get on the map before someone else, or was there good hours in between?
That's a great question. So editing absolutely makes things closer than they appear. So, I mean, the last leg in Cambodia is a perfect example. D'Angelo finished the tile challenge, at a certain time, but Ishwar didn't complete his until 45 minutes later. But the editing made it seem like that they were neck and neck, and who's going to finish, who's going to avoid elimination, all that stuff. But that would spoil and remove all the drama. So they intentionally try to build up some of that drama.
Okay. Doug from Illinois wants to know, what was the scariest task you completed?
Well, for you, that's easy. In Germany.
Yeah, but I mean, it made it seem like I was peeing my
And
pants.
remind us for those.
So she's referring to the challenge in Berlin where I'm walking down the side of the building and screaming.
Yes.
So
It's just a little scream, just a tiny one.
just a little screaming. I mean, part of it was just like cathartic screaming, you know, because sometimes you're just like, want to scream.
Let it all out.
Just let it all out. So that's probably the scariest, just because there's not particularly a lot of scary things. Or
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what it is for me, and I don't know, maybe driving around in those 40-year-old cars in Berlin and just hoping that they wouldn't break down on you. That was, you know, I don't know if scary is the right word, but you just hope that nothing bad happens, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that while we're racers on the race, we know that there's all these security nets for us. There's a medic team, there's security, there's, you know, it's not like in real life where if you were driving a 40-year-old car and you broke down, like you have to deal with it. There's always going to be people there. So I think that made it less scary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of along the lines of that question, or that answer, we got the question of how big of a liability or nuisance was racing with the extra people, like the camera crew and the security, and did these things change?
You get used to it. You know, on the opening leg, you kind of need to figure out how you're going to get into the taxi in the right, you know, in the right order or whatever, because you have to sit in a certain seat and they have to sit in certain seats. Because every team, they've got a camera guy and a sound guy with them, and they're running with you just as much as we're running.
Carrying 35-pound cameras and audio
packs. Yeah.
The same, or do you get the same people the whole race?
No, they rotate the crews, just, you know, for fairness' sake.
Wow.
We have our favorites.
But yeah, some crews we enjoyed having more than others. But I mean, when you talk about, like, you know, unsung heroes in terms of the production of a show like this, those guys are right up there. It's incredible what they do, what they have to do.
Yeah. Oh, so many questions. Okay. So did you keep anything from the race? For instance, anything you made during a challenge?
So we're not allowed to keep things.
But
So after every pit stop, we go in and we check in, and they make us sign an affidavit about who did which roadblock, so that there's a record, and, you know, when we checked in, and also they count how much money we have left, and we are to turn in all of our clues and all of our stuff.
And all of our envelopes and anything that we've acquired during the leg, we have to give back.
So Chee and I were really, really conservative about how much weight we wanted to carry. So we actually didn't take anything during the race, whereas other racers were more free. Like Will and James, in Paraguay, when there was that jug thing with the leather around it, they actually sliced off the leather piece and kept it as a souvenir, right? Or Madison, this was allowed for some reason. The outfits that they have in India, so he actually took his, he lost his hat, but since my noggin's huge, he just took my hat, and so he has a whole outfit. But we didn't take anything until the last leg. We took a clue.
Yeah, we took one of those envelopes that the clue was in.
A real one. A real one.
Yes.
Not one of those party favors that I could buy online.
That's right. This was a real one.
Let's see. What else, Lily?
We have our yield because we never used it.
That's true. We kept our hourglass, our puny 10-minute little yield hourglass. We still have that one to do too.
Lauren wants to know, would you race again?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, hands down. It was one of the most incredible experiences we've ever been on, that anybody could ever go on. Because the thing about some of these tasks that we're doing or places that we're going, like, it's not like you can just pay a certain amount of money and just do it, you know? I feel like the creators of the show, like Bertram and Elise, they've got, you know, connections and the ability to, like, go into this Amazonian tribe place and do challenges there, or to work with the Kazakhstan film studio and have them put on these elaborate fight scenes and stuff like that. I mean, that's stuff that you just can't do as a regular, you know, human being.
So there's experience of it all, but there's also the, just getting off the grid and being able to spend 5 weeks thinking about, yourself, your life, your partner. And so that's just really, life changing.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Anne wants to know, do the teams hang out with each other after you all get to the pit stop? And have you been friends with anyone?
So yes. So the first part of the question, as soon as you check into the pit stop at the end of each leg, you get, you do your post-leg interview where they ask you questions and you kind of recap the leg for them. But then right after that, you get whisked straight to the hotel. And once you're in the hotel, you're not allowed to leave.
It's actually called hotel jail. You're inside there with your partner. And they actually have a production person outside your door, like a jail keeper. And so if you open your door, they'll be like, what do you need? Because you're not allowed to leave. And the rationale is because they want everything on camera. Because in case something develops or happens, whether people fight or people become friends, they can't tell that part of the story if it's not on camera. For instance, the Beards and us became pretty good friends after Columbia. So that's when we actually first started talking about, working together. But that was never on camera. So, it wasn't part of the story.
Yeah, I'd also say they probably do this hotel jail thing for security reasons too.
Probably.
They don't want people just leaving their hotels, doing some sightseeing, and then getting into trouble by accident or something bad happening. So, so they're pretty strict about that.
They take security very seriously. We each all have a GPS thing that's really heavy that we're supposed to have on our body at all times. One time, Chee and I got separated from the pack and kind of got lost. And security noticed that when they turned that on, they noticed one thing moving rather than 2 things moving. So we got yelled at because they realized that only Chee was carrying both of them because they're so heavy. And they wanted one on me too. Yeah, we got yelled at a couple times when they turned them on.
Yeah.
So the culture camp piggyback training didn't do you any good then 15 years ago?
I think it did. We're probably in the best shape of our life.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit about food. When you were in the country, did they feed you the local cuisine? Fabulosa also wants to know did you eat any Filipino dishes since you were just there?
Oh, so to answer the first question, yes, they do feed us. So when we're in the hotel, they give us a menu that we can order room service and whatnot. So that was what we were limited to. It would have been cool to explore different restaurants and things like that, but unfortunately we were forced to eat a lot of spaghetti bolognese and lots of hamburgers and stuff like that. There were some places where you could order kind of more local dishes.
We ate horse meat in Kazakhstan.
We ate horse meats in Kazakhstan. Glad we tried it.
Was it taste like chicken?
I'm glad we tried it, but I don't need to have it again.
It's surprisingly metallic in smell and flavor.
Yeah, and it was dry too. So yeah, I mean, there were some places where you could order kind of unique dishes. But I don't know how good the quality of it was, as compared to actually going to a restaurant that
or even authentic, like street food would have been
more
yummy. That's what we would typically eat when we travel.
Yeah.
Let's see. In the Philippines, I can't remember what we got at that hotel.
A lot of stuff. So that when we were in the Philippines, we were in a really nice hotel, which is not common. And I remember the room service menu was really thick. And it had all sorts of Southeast Asian food.
Yeah.
And so we got a ton of food.
That you didn't have to pay for. It wasn't. You didn't get a bill for, right? Because they paid for the hotel.
Right. Yeah.
Perfect way to get room service.
That's right. It's the best way.
I want to know a little bit more about the alliances. My friend Jack also wants to know, why do you keep helping the other teams?
So the first thing. The first behind the scenes secret is Mind 5 was not a thing. They played it up as if it were a thing. I remember when we checked into the Berlin pit stop and Phil asked us about Mine 5, we were like, what's that?
What's that?
I don't know what that
Yeah.
is, right? And he was like, oh, the 5 of you guys from the mine in Colombia. And yeah, we didn't know it was a thing, nor were we helping all 5. But we were for sure helping at that time in Berlin, the Beard Bros, because the Beard Bros and we had already had a conversation in the Colombian airport that we were going to help each other because we believed that we had complementary skills, and you know,
And we felt that they were trustworthy too.
Yeah. And so that's truly who our alliance was. And then in France, that actually grew to include the
Will and
boyfriends.
James. Yeah, Will and James approached us in France and said, hey, we'd like to work with you. And we're also working with the Beard Brothers, by the way, so maybe we could be kind of a 3-team type of alliance. And so we were like, okay, that works for us. But at no point did we really think the Mine 5 was a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so with this alliance, I mean, to answer the question on why we kept helping, I mean, that's what we had committed to. That was our word, and we were just going to commit to our word, keep our word, and help the alliance along as far as we could.
And also, our goal was to get to the final leg rather than win individual legs. We've seen lots of seasons where a team wins too many individual legs, but they don't have the social support, and then either get targeted or miss out on a key piece of information, or just, you know, are separated from the pack. And then they do themselves in because of that. And so we didn't want that to happen. We wanted a chance to race for the actual million, which is the last leg. And that's the leg that mattered. So that's one piece of it. And two, you know, if we, like she said, if we give our word, we will do it. Particularly in Brazil, the Beard Bros helped us out a lot in the market. And, you know, we felt indebted and we wanted to, you know, help them.
Right. Any questions, Lily, from online that we received before that we've missed here? I'm picking some that I want to ask also. Tracy wants to know if you would you consider doing Survivor?
So we've talked about that.
We have.
Yeah.
I mean, if Jeff were to call us up, you know, we would say yes, right? Just because how cool is that? But for me, I honestly don't think my skills lend itself well to Survivor.
She's really nice.
I'm not the best at lying or scheming or anything like that.
But you could do all the challenges.
I could do the challenges, but I don't think I could, you know, win the whole thing very easily.
Yeah.
And the idea of being on an island and not eating for 40 days or 39 days or whatever does not appeal to me either.
You want the hotel and the room service.
Yeah.
We talked about that. If I were going on Survivor, I would do enough research to know what like insects, bugs, plants I could eat in Fiji. Like I'd figure out a way to.
The scientist in you, you're like, yes.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, we would go in prepared for sure, but it wouldn't be something we'd, you know, at least for me, I don't think I would like truly excel at Survivor.
Yeah. It's definitely a different game. I don't watch it at all.
Yeah. We received the question of what has been the most challenging task that helped your relationship together? And then I believe we also saw a question from earlier about what about your partner do you think made you successful in the race? So sort of a two-part question.
Oh, man. I feel like Hung and I did our best, and our relationship was most helpful on the ones where we worked together. Like I'm thinking about like the trucks in Colombia where we had to decorate the trucks. That one was good, where we just were very decisive about, okay, Hung's going to decorate the inside of the truck, I'm going to decorate the outside of the truck, and we just kind of flew through our tasks. And then, you know, Hung being the brainiac that she is, she realized at the end, hey, we also got to hook up the horns, you know. So
yeah, I'd agree. Any task that we can break down in Divide and Conquer, we did really well on like the Brazil cooking challenge, where, you know, we knew that there was a lot of manual labor in just grating the Joko?
The
Manjako?
Manjaka.
And so Chee
Manjaka.
just did that the whole time. And I just went back and forth to figure out what needed to be done. And so we didn't do it sequentially. We did it in parallel. So because we're on the same wavelength most of the time.
Most of the time.
I think those worked really well.
Yeah. But even in some tasks that we were doing together where we, you know, struggled, I still feel like we did them relatively quickly. Like in India, when we had to deliver the food, you know, with the food delivery app, we struggled finding some of those locations because they're scattered all throughout the city. And there were some frustrating moments that they didn't show on air, but we were able to overcome those moments pretty quickly and stay focused and just get all that food delivered. And you know, we survived the leg and still did okay.
So what if you had said earlier that the race that you're gone, what part of the race that you're eliminated, you're gone for 5 weeks. What do you do if you're eliminated the first part? I mean, the first race, do they hide you? Would they have hidden you? Obviously you're not.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes. They do hide you. For this season, I think it changes every season, but for this season, the teams that get eliminated go to this kind of resort or this big Airbnb type place in Prague.
Okay.
And so they're all in Prague. I think it's in the Czech Republic, and they're hanging out. They're going on excursions and they're exploring the city and they're bonding and stuff. So they get taken care of too.
Right. Okay.
You know.
I see that bun asked us about balut. We've had balut. So we've had balut in the States.
Okay, so Lorraine wants to know, did you keep notes as you went along to help you remember the details? Because obviously you watched it before, so details are important.
Yes.
We both had individual notebooks, and we recorded all sorts of details, and we were memorizing all of them. So funny enough, right before the Philippines leg, spoiler alert, we had a long layover, so I sat there and I just memorized every single flag, which came in handy.
Wow.
Yeah, if you're a fan of the race, taking notes is essential to doing well, because inevitably there's going to be some type of memory challenge that comes up, and having those notes is huge.
Yeah.
Even the football players, the NFL players, they brought map pencils. So if you guys know, like the colored pencils to draw out their maps and color them in the right colors. We didn't have that. We just had one little black pen that we drew an arrow and said, this is the color of that.
Yeah.
But everybody took very, very detailed notes.
Lauren wanted to know, was there a leg that you were worried about being eliminated?
Oh yeah.
The Philippines.
The Philippines, but even before in India, I thought we were at risk for being eliminated because we switched detours twice. We couldn't figure out the video games, and so we had to switch that detour. And then, with the bangles and the dentures, we switched detours there too. So I was actually mentally preparing for that leg to be our last one. Like as we were running around delivering the Swiggy food, I was trying to live in the moment as much as I could and take it in, just because it might be my last leg.
I hadn't given up hope yet there, but in the Philippines, I really struggled because they don't show how far we were behind and how lost we were and how much running we did. So I was in a rough place, but physically too, just because we were just running so much.
Yeah.
I see Jack V is trying to hold himself and not ask about bathroom questions. I will answer all your bathroom questions. So you can just type the question, or I'm assuming you just want to know everything that there is about bathrooms.
We do. Just spill it.
So we don't stop for you can stop if you want, right? But you lose time. So you don't. You want to talk about Colombia? So you don't stop for bathroom breaks, right? Because it's difficult to find bathrooms to go and do all that. There are a couple of legs. Oh, and we try to strategically not drink so we don't have to go to the bathroom, right? And So we stop drinking probably like 3 or 4 hours before the leg starts. And then we try not to drink that much unless we're getting dehydrated. So we have to balance that out, not being dehydrated, but not wanting to go to the bathroom. I remember in Colombia, right before we go to the circus, right? I had to go really bad, right? And I didn't want to stop. And as we're running in, there's this long line of people getting into costumes. So I saw what looked like a bathroom. So I just jetted out there and then went to the bathroom. I think it was a men's bathroom or whatever, but there was nobody there. So, yeah, is that answer your bathroom question? There are no official bathroom breaks.
And then for me, like during the leg, you're just so amped up the whole time on adrenaline. Like I actually never felt the need to use the bathroom.
I did.
I Hung did obviously, but for me, I just was on go, go, go the whole time. And in fact, there were so many just legs that were just so hot and sweaty. Like I was just drinking as much as I could to stay hydrated.
So in the Philippine leg, another piece of my pain, if you see the pain on my face, is that I'm really thirsty, I'm dehydrated, but I have to go to the bathroom really bad. Yeah.
Uncomfortable.
Very. It was painful.
Lori just asked, did you work with a trainer to get in shape, or were you physically active prior to the race, or was that part of your 5-week prep?
So we had aspirations to go on race. So we started just being more active. Chee's always active. He was a college athlete, so he's generally in good shape anyways and can do things like run and jump and throw balls and catch balls. But I actually started to train because I'm pretty sedentary. So
For children?
Yes, very. But I mean, I'm not running like distances, but I train. So I was running like up to 6 miles at one go, which was like, for people who know me, like if something's not chasing me or I'm not chasing something to eat, I'm not running. So yeah, and working out with weights and stuff. But we didn't work with a trainer. The closest thing is I got a workout buddy who like heckled me.
We've been going for almost an hour. Of course, we could go on forever, but I think there's some really good ending questions. One of them is, well, obviously, if you win the $1 million, what will you do with it? What have you done with it? And can you give us any idea about what you win if you didn't win? We already know you're in the top 3. Spoiler alert, sorry, West Coast. Do each place get prize money, or is there just one? Okay.
Yeah, each place gets prize money, and you can Google this too. But first place is obviously the $1 million, but then second place gets I think like 25 grand. Third place gets like 10 grand or something like that, and it just kind of goes down from there.
Yeah, 4th, 5th, everybody has cash prize.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if we were to win the $1 million, it's a boring answer, but straight to the college funds for the kids.
It'll probably cost $1 million by the time those kids are.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you think now you raced this before COVID? So do you think Amazing Race will continue after COVID?
Oh yeah, I mean, especially with the vaccine that's been announced and they're starting to distribute it now. I think the race will definitely continue. It's still got a lot of people out there that watch, big fan base, and I see no reason why it can't continue.
And I hope it continues because I think it's a really good, wholesome show that the whole family can watch together, learn, talk about different cultures. I think that it's a really good show.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else can you tell us? We have like about 2 minutes left, 1 minute left.
Oh man. Well, I hope you guys can tune in for the finale next week.
It is next week. Okay. So
yeah, no, appreciate everyone's support up until this point. It's been a blast, and hope you guys enjoyed it.
Are you gonna leave us little breadcrumbs the following week? This next week, these next 7 days?
We'll just tell you that it's on and remind you to watch, and that's the best we can do.
And if you follow us on social media, CBS actually sends us breadcrumbs to put out. So yeah, so you can follow us Instagram. I'm at Miss Hung Nguyen, and
I'm at Chee Lee _HTX.
But before we close, thank you so much again for having us. And for folks online, if you haven't looked into Catalyst Foundation and the amazing things that they do. Please go to their website. Please look into it. They do really, literally life-changing things.
Thank you so much for plugging us, and thank you for racing and doing so well and being such good people. Such a great representation of, who we are and what good karma really means. And, for our tagline has always been, be the catalyst for hope. And I think you are the catalyst for hope for us that want to be on the race, for us that want to travel again, for us that want to try all the good foods and hang out in hotels for 5 weeks and and all that good stuff. So thank you so much. We have recorded this, so we're going to go back and see if you gave us a nod or a wink when we asked some questions. But yeah, we're super excited to follow you. Thank you, and good luck next week.
Thank you again for having us.
Bye.
Thanks, Lily, for helping us.